Wow, wow. Oh my God. What an ending. What a match. I love this club. I love Jurgen Klopp. I love Virgil van Dijk. The kids do all right. Just like wow. What an absolute brilliant trophy. I'm your host, Charlie. I'm a little bit too excited, so I need these guys to try to keep me in check for the next hour or so. We can go for a couple hours. Let's do it. Um, I want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you to Dan. Hi, Dan. How are you doing? How is the match for you?
Oh, it was good, Charlie. I love a good last minute Virgil van Dijk, big man, captain, winner.
Should have had
And
two
then
today.
maybe should have had
We'll we'll,
two.
come- we'll come into we'll come on to that. We'll come on to it.
No, I mean, we're Liverpool. We never do anything the easy way. Even with this in this final, we've had some good moments, but Virgil coming with the big header, that's all that matters. And in the
Yeah.
end, we got the win. And what is it? Gary Neville said on Sky. He said, the Liverpool's U21s versus the blue pound bottle jobs. That's all
Bottle
you can
job.
say.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll come on to that little comment. I think it's a little bit naughty from Gary Neville, and I'll go a bit of a spin on it. So I'll come back into that. But I want to just say hello to Brandon. Brandon in his lovely little studio. I can see his guitar. I'm very jealous. How are you, mate?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. I'm over the moon. I was kind of resigned by, I think, by the 100th minute. I'm like, whatever happens, happens. And then whatever actually happened ended up being way better than anything I could have ever hoped for. So it just, I've, we're going to get into it. I don't want to give away everything I've got to think, but my God,
Yeah,
this is one of the most proud moments of being a Liverpool supporter I can ever think of because of all the circumstances.
yeah. And there's so, like there's the story of it of tonight. And this isn't the culmination of everything that's happening. This is, I believe, is going to be the start. I just want to say thank you for Jay. Obviously, I'm really proud as well. I think I see the sentiment as well. What you're saying there, Brandon, with the feeling. Up to a point. Around about the same time, I just felt really proud. So proud that we've got some players out. We've got youngsters playing, and they're showing up these £100 million players. Showing them up and really doing well. Years ahead of them. Years above them, and old heads on young shoulders. If that's the saying, it's just brilliant. Let's kind of go pre-match, and let's talk about kind of like the starting lineup. So Dan, I'll come to you first. Um, there was obviously rumours of flying around left, right, and centre around Salah and Soboslai possibly being in the squad. Nunes as well. Kind of,
Mm.
what were your thoughts pre-match? How were you feeling? Were you feeling confident, nervous?
I mean, it was about the lineup I expected. I have a feeling that Salah, Nunez, and Dom are actually relatively fit, but they're being very cautious with them. I if we were in a different position, I think they would have been on the bench if this wasn't we weren't in the league title or we were out of the Europa League, or if this was the only thing we had to play for this season apart from making top four. I think that they probably would have played, but because we have so many other games we have to play, potentially we have like not 10 league games, we have 12 league games left in the season. We have the FA Cup fifth round against Southampton, and we have the round of 16 in the Europa League against Sparta Prague, which isn't going to be a walk in the park. It is going to be a serious game. I think he went with the lineup that the only lineup you could realistically play. I don't think there was really any big changes you could have made except for maybe Joe Gomez starting for Connor Bradley, or
Yeah,
if the or Kwanzaa coming in for Konate, but I think he started the strongest lineup you possibly could have had. Honestly, I thought even with that lineup, we played very well against Chelsea,
yeah,
who had a much stronger 11. I think we both had pretty weak benches for the most part. There's very limited what we could do. So this game was always going to either come down to, I think if you've seen the game play out, either a counterattacking goal, a moment of brilliance, or a set piece. And I think it's no coincidence the fact that the goal that gets disallowed for Chelsea was a counterattacking goal. The goal that was disallowed for us was a set piece, and the goal that eventually won the game was a set piece as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm kind of glad they didn't risk them, again, because you could have risked them and we could have still have lost on another day. So, it is what it is with them. I think it's more important getting them ready for Forest and City than, risking them in a Carabao Cup final.
Pleased to have you on board, Jen. Thank you for joining. I think Mrs. Underwood is possibly a little bit excited from watching the game as well. So don't worry about it, mate. Brandon, yeah, let's come to you, mate. What were your feelings prior, before kickoff? Nervous? Excited?
Excited, I'd say would be more of the word. I mean, I always like when the kids are going to get an opportunity. Obviously, it just once Grav went down, it became such a what are we going to do? I was kind of agreeing with Dan, there's not a whole lot of different things we could have done starting lineup wise. It was always going to be especially how much Cody and Elliot put in the game Wednesday. I'm like, can they last the full 90? And then Elliot ends up lasting the whole 120. So, big ups for him. You
could tell the impact of Wednesday, and this is the thing. Chelsea had a full week to prepare for this game. We were playing Luton, and you could tell from Cody's performance today whether he was just not in it mentally or physically. He just wasn't there, was he?
Yeah, that'd been the only negative I could take away was that I felt like Cody was kind of really not at it. Like he just never seemed like anything he was trying to do was coming off. But I mean, don't want to be too negative on the guy. Like I said, he was huge Wednesday night. So, winning the league is awfully what we want to do. So, coming through there, just because it doesn't come through tonight doesn't matter because Jaden Dans can come through for us and Bobby Clark and McConnell and all these wonderful lads that can come through for us.
Yeah. And, Kelleher, thank you for joining us as always. Let's talk about this comment and how impressive it is that we've got Conor Bradley 20, Harvey Elliott 20, Bobby Clark 19, James O'Connell 19, Jaden Dans 19. Then we've got the young lads as well. Naomi, he was he's 16, 17.
He looks
yeah. It's just phenomenal how good these players were. And you know what? Klopp has such big balls, man. He's got big balls, and to throw youngsters on at the end of the game, it's crucial. We were probably getting we were a bit too open at the back towards the end of the 90. But Klopp had the balls just to say, right, you know what, these kids are good enough. I'm going to throw them on. I mean, Dan, what were your thoughts about the substitutions? Because we had that little bit of conversation, didn't we, about the extra substitution that we had in extra time. Maybe I didn't communicate it the way I should have, but Klopp's he's just brilliant.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I know he mentioned the fact that him having the balls to put the youngsters on, but this is the culture that Klopp's brought in as a coach, part of developing the AXA and even moving from Melwood was to integrate the academy more into the first team. And you see the payoff from that with the quality of youth players we have versus when Klopp took over, going from Jordan Rossiter, Andre Wisdom, Shea Ojo. Again, nothing wrong with those players. Brannigan, who's now I think he's still at Oxford United. Who's recently we in the Champions League final we had a youth center back from Ireland. I'm forgetting his name now. Connor Masterson. That's who I'm remembering. And so going from that to now, it just shows that Klopp has faith in these players to come on and get minutes and to do what he needs for the team. And that's why that's what Jurgen Klopp does. That's his whole philosophy. And I think you can see how Liverpool puts their faith and their energy and their coaching into their youth players versus Chelsea, because Chelsea pretty much kept the same 11 for that whole game, even going into extra time. They only make one change, which is Madueke and Trevor Chalobah. And I think there was one more sub they made. Nkunku came on for as well. So if you look at the subs that Chelsea made, it was very first teamers. But with Liverpool, they took the gamble on youth. They could have thrown on all the reg. They could have put Tsimikas on earlier for Robertson and gone more structured. They could have thrown on not even Kwanzaa's for 2 players. Well, they could have thrown on Gomez much earlier before Gravenberch. came off as well. So this is just a combination of like the culture, the coaching, and just putting faith into the youth players. And I think that just comes down to the fact of Klopp's personality. Like he said, you know, it win, lose or draw, like I'm gonna back you guys because you guys are good enough to do this. And that's just how this pays off. And you can tell when a team believes in itself and when a team that doesn't, because we play the team that doesn't believe in itself for all ability, that all the money that goes into that team and all the talent they have, they're mid-table and they just lost to a bunch of kids.
Yeah, and our own very superstar, Jen, thank you again. Really, really generous contribution to the channel. You keeping us alive. We're in such a high. I just want to say thank you again. What other comments have we got going? We've got loads of comments in today. So yeah, so Jay, yeah, true. Klopp didn't have any choice. We were dead tired. But I think, you know, in commentary, what they said was previous teams, and you could probably see it with Pochettino, who I can't stand this week more so. The pre-match bile that comes out of that man's mouth is just, you know, it's nauseating. But anyway, the point I was going to get at was, you know, we've seen teams before where they don't trust their youngsters and will just play the game out. That, you know, we've seen plenty of examples where extra time just turns into just a stalemate waiting for penalties. Isn't that right, Brandon? You've seen it before. It's really rare that you see a winning goal in extra time.
Yeah, like that's what I was shocked about how Chelsea played the extra time, like just because of how on top of it they were. Then the changes we kind of were forced into making. Like we have a whole bunch of not just young players, inexperienced players. It's like, you know, Harvey may be 20, but he's fairly experienced at like a very high level. So like, but we have McConnell who has less than 10 games. You have Jaden Dans. This is his second game as senior football. Like, and he doesn't go for it. Like this is a potch bottle job at like kind of the max. Like he really screwed his tactics up in extra time. I know they're talking about it after the game when I was watching about in between the extra periods, the 15, he was going around to his defensive players, talking to them. And it's like, why aren't you talking to your forward thinking players? Why aren't you talking to your offensive players, getting them on the same page, giving them kind of going? Because, you know, they should have been controlling the game at that point, but they weren't because, you know, we kind of just really took over in that second period. Elliott had a couple really great chances. I mean, this is, I'm just kind of blown away. Playing for PKs is just absurd with what was on the pitch. It was just an absolute absurd decision.
I don't know if I've watched a different game, but I thought we controlled the whole game from start to end. Yes, they were very plucky and had a couple of chances where on a different day they possibly would have scored. But Kelleher, who's magnificent, he's just brilliant in this competition. He's the best number 2 in the world, you know, certainly in the league. And why a club hasn't come in for him and spent decent money on that lad is just beyond me. But you know, he's got a home here. Let's talk about Kelleher. How impressive was he, Dan? He's basically a mini Alisson. You know, the chance that he saved in the first half for Cole Palmer, and then the one-on-one with Conor Gallagher. They're Alisson-esque. You know, if you didn't know who Alisson was and you thought that was him, that's it. He's just carbon copy of him, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, like, you know, Kelleher is probably the closest you can have to Alisson right now at this moment. No, he was absolutely impressive, and I think we have to give Kelleher his plaudits here. You know, he being a number 2 goalkeeper is very difficult because part of being a goalkeeper is being in rhythm. It's very hard to like switch on and like save. Like the best goalkeepers that make a lot of saves, like it's kind of easy to do that because once you get into a rhythm of saving stuff, you just keep saving and keep saving. But it's actually really hard to just like walk in, switch it on, and then switch it back off and switch on. And I think Kelleher like deserves all the credit in the world. He was going to get this game regardless of Alisson's injuries, but you know how he's played recently has just shown how quality he is. You know, he's 25. Goalkeepers mature much later than more other players. Maybe center backs are the other position that really mature much later. in their career. But yeah, no, he's shown why he's worth, if James Trafford, he went to Burnley for what, 30, 35 million, like Kelleher is easily worth that plus an extra like 5 or 10 as well. And it just shows how important it is to have a quality backup goalkeeper that is also a youth prospect. I know we joke all the time about having Adrian as a third choice, but that's who you want as a third choice as well. Is it like, you want a third choice goalkeeper like an Adrian who's like 38 from that 39, 40. So you can have that second place be a Kelleher, a Pitaluga, or I'm trying to think who are goalkeepers out on loan right now. There's so many of them. There's so many of them. Harvey Davies, that's the one I was thinking of as well. That's why it exists there. But no, Kelleher is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I know we want Allison back for the City game, but I think Kelleher has shown that he has the mentality. He's not afraid of the spotlight, and he can make big saves against. These aren't scrubs. You're talking about Cole Palmer and Christopher Nkunku. He's had a save from Jackson, I think Sterling, like Madueke. Honestly, that save against Palmer in that first half was absolutely ridiculous. Where he catches on the half volley, like it's absolutely fantastic. Kelleher, and it's kind of a cheat. I kind of feel bad now that I feel like we're cheating the league, because if you look at the number 2s, ours is like, oh yeah, you just get Irish Allison Becker. That's your second goalkeeper. But yeah, no, he's wonderful, and he deserves all the love and plaudits.
And to give him the plaudits, obviously, we've got to think about the defense that plays in front of him. Brandon, how colossal. We'll come on to Virgil because of the winner that he scored, but actually as a defensive unit, how impressed were you with the back four and then the change that we had where Bradley moved into midfield and then Gomez came on? How impressed were you with that?
I was mildly impressed. There was a lot of talk in the chat with Konate, in that man of the match conversation. Even before the goal, Virgil was immense all day today. Even for the winner, he was immense. He was just everywhere, blocking everything, clearing everything, winning every single header. He was a wrecking ball back there. He was just a brick wall back there. And Konate was equally as great on the other side. To have those two guys, as long as they're as long as Konate stays healthy, that is just such a tall task for any offensive team in the world to go against. Just seeing those two guys staying at the back, it's just got to be kind of disheartening. How am I supposed to, if I can beat Van Dijk, because it used to be when Matip was back there, they had a big, strong striker, Lukaku or something like that. They just kind of, focus on Matip because you can physically maybe best him. Can't do that with Konate. And then if it's you had Gomez back there, it's oh, we're not Gomez. Maybe you can beat him with the other guy with speed. It's no, Konate can keep up with anybody. It's just, it's mightily impressive. I thought Joe was not at his best today, but towards the end, he kind of kept growing into the game. I think we saw that when we played Arsenal away. He kind of came on and was very rough for about 10 minutes, or right into halftime. Then the second half grew into it. I thought towards the end, he was really growing into it. I thought Robbo's deliveries were excellent. And then Costa, the same thing. He comes in and he delivers a couple really good balls. The one to Harvey at the back post. Obviously gets the winning assist on the corner. It's wonderful the depth we do have in all these positions.
And I think it can't be underestimated how difficult it is for a player to come in from the bench onto the pitch. Gomez started a little bit roughly. Tsimikas at the back was a little bit, he wasn't in the right position, or he wasn't switched on at the right time. But it's really, really difficult. But the guy is just brilliant. We'll talk about the midfield really quickly. Endo is just brilliant. He's just fantastic. I think he's possibly signing of the season. I know we've spoken about McAllister as well, haven't we? But those two, let's talk about those two. McAllister and Endo are just leaps and bounds above Enzo and Caicedo today. Caicedo, he should have had a yellow, 100%. But he was lucky. He had best impression of Rodri today. He didn't get booked today, I don't think.
No, he didn't.
Impossible. Even after that, even after taking out Gravenberch, who I hope is not too badly injured. I think I saw him walking with crutches.
He's in crutches and a boot. Yeah, he was in crutches and a boot around his ankle. Yeah. So we won't know until probably Tuesday.
Yeah. But yeah, so Brandon, I'll come to you first about the midfield. How impressive were certainly those two lads?
Oh my! I think I said it the other day, like the 35 million I think we paid for McAllister is maybe the best bit of business we've ever done because he's worth so much more than that. The fact that the Argentine counterpart on the other side for Chelsea cost 100-some million, and McAllister a far better player. Like it's just mind-boggling to me. And Endo, every single time you watch him, he's always in the right position. He always seems to nick the ball. Like anytime it seems like it's a 50-50 ball, he comes away with it, or he nicks it, or he gets involved and breaks up a play. It's just he's everywhere all the time. And I was so impressed with him at like the 118th, 119th, 120th minute, just still having just bags of energy to just kind of do this. Taro is just, I think I'm kind of with you, Charlie. He might just be the signing of the season because of how kind of needed he is in that position, have kind of more a specialized like 6 in that kind of role, even though McAllister's done a wonderful job. But just the way he's came in and just kind of overcame all the doubters, because obviously that was quite a controversial signing for quite a bit of the fan base who just didn't know who he was.
So that's why I'm saying he's possibly signing of the season for me, because of the doubts that he caused at the start of the season, and how he's turned those doubters into believers. It's a very, very Klopp saying, isn't it, that one? But he's kind of epitomized what Klopp's all about, where he takes a rough diamond, someone that is written off, and Klopp's made him into a really, really solid, reliable player that does what he needs to do and does it brilliantly. Dan, I'll come to you about the midfield. What are your thoughts about how well the midfield played? Bradley came into midfield as well, halfway through the first half.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I think we've seen like on a field today where you had a midfield pair that cost 250 million pounds and one midfield pairing that cost 50 million pounds. And if you ask someone watching the game which one do you think costs what, they probably would have said the team in red instead of the team in blue. No, I mean, like I think we've just seen like one, how good we are at identifying players. I know we've there's always been this discourse for the past probably 2 years about how Liverpool have missed out on insert player here, Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, like these Tchouaméni, Bellingham, again, all good players in their own right in many ways, but we're really good at identifying players that are good. Like people thought McAllister have been good for the past couple of years. Obviously, he won team with the World Cup, but people were not coming out of the World Cup talking about Alexis McAllister as the 100 million pound player. It was Enzo Fernandez. And they're both, and I thought McAllister was the better player, and Liverpool identified him as the better player. I think also, even before Ryan Gravenberch got injured, he's been showing more and more kind of like that Curtis Jones progression, where like has that explosiveness, but he's adding that more all around to his game. Obviously, again, I hope he's not injured. The fact that we had a game where Harvey Elliott had to come to midfield, Connor Bradley came to midfield for a bit, and we ended the game with James McConnell and Bobby Clark, 19 and 18 respectively, coming in, and then Bradley with the striker as well. Yeah, James Hughes. That was a good shout though. Actually, I was calling for that because we needed some pace in behind. The fact that we ended the game with that, and that Wataru Endo was just so class, so good the whole time. Like I think the biggest worry this whole year was just Endo's pace, because he doesn't really have a lot, but what he has shown is his intelligence, his positioning, kind of like Thiago Silva, like the idea that you just get in the right positions, you don't need a whole lot of pace. And he's adapted so well to the pace of the game and being able to just get himself into the right positions at all times. And when he wins it, he just doesn't just win it. He wins it clean. He nicks it to the next player and it starts an attack. Very Virgil van Dijk thing as well. What I'll say, the one thing I'll say about Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez for Chelsea is that Caicedo, I think, actually probably played his best game for Chelsea, in which he injured one of our players. Probably should have got a yellow card. Potentially may have gotten a second one and sent off. Is that you can see that Chelsea has quality, but it doesn't work. But we have quality, and we find a way to make it work. And that's the biggest thing that comes down to playing a team sport, is the fact that it's making that chemistry work. Yeah, no, Kelleher is right. He is an alchemist. He turns everything into gold because he makes you feel like 10 feet tall. Like, and that's the thing. If you make someone feel 10 feet tall, they'll run through brick walls for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is absolutely fantastic and amazing. And I think it shows that, I know this is Klopp's farewell tour. I think what it shows is that even when Klopp goes, we might lose a little bit of chemistry, but we also still are able to identify good players. And hopefully whoever takes over after Klopp can, like, we keep that march moving forward, that you can still galvanize the players. You can still do it in your own way, but you buy into those values of like, we make this work, we get the kids in, we're all in this together, and hopefully we don't get like a Mourinho and get like a sourpuss or someone who just throws everyone under the bus.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think on that point, if you're a manager that has been linked to the club or conversations that have actually occurred, i.e. Xabi Alonso, and he's and ahhing about whether he wants to step into the breach, he should see what happened today. Look at the difference between Liverpool and a club like Chelsea, a club like you could say Bayern Munich, you could say other teams as well. The culture that is at Liverpool is it's worlds apart. And if I was Xabi Alonso, I look at that match, I'm like, I want to be part of it. I want that feeling that you go to Wembley, against all odds, playing against a billion pound club, bottlers, whatever you want to call them, and still produce the goods, because there's something magical about this club, isn't it? You know what I mean, Brandon? There's just something magical about Klopp, and yeah, okay, we're going to call it the farewell tour, but I was so happy that he got to lift that trophy with Virgil today.
Yeah, me too. It was pretty emotional. Like, it's just like emotional. Just like, I love Jurgen. Like, of all the living human beings out there, he might be, outside of my family, like my favorite person. And
yeah,
like, he's just so real, I guess is the best way to put it. He's just a real person. One thing I was thinking of where I guess Chelsea was coming down with their second place medal, and we're going up for our, winners medals, was that ultimately this came down to what Klopp's all about, is that's the desire to like win, the desire to perform. And Chelsea spending $1 billion on all those players, you can't really buy the desire. That's why, you have whatever Mudryk costs, like 85, 90, 100 million, whatever he costs. That's why he doesn't attack a ball on the near post and lets Virgil van Dijk, one of the best headers in the game, get to that ball instead. Like, you just can't buy that desire that Klopp has instilled in the club from top down. This is one of those where, this is a game that should have been impossible, but because it's you, it's possible. The whole Barcelona speech, like, this is another instance of that. Like, it's just, I think he said he kind of did that speech against Luton as well. And a lot of the kids who played today got to hear that speech. And
yeah, that's it.
He instilled that belief in yourself to go after the game like this against the $100 billion club across the other side. Like, I mean, those guys can take on anybody right now because then they want to. Because that's ultimately the big thing for youngsters, is how much they want to kind of really perform when things aren't going the way. Because, usually kids at this level who get to this level, usually it's a little easier to them because they've been better than everybody. But now it's everybody's just as good as you are. So now you have to put in the hard yards, and that's what Klopp instills in everybody.
Yeah. I agree. Just gonna bring up this one, Jay. Yes, there is a 7:30, so we're gonna finish off this stream very shortly, but we are gonna move on. I think we're on a high at the moment, so it would be daft not to talk about it. We've done 3 to go. Is it possible, Dan? Do you think we can actually go ahead and win them all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I said this all the way back when we beat Newcastle. I'm like, we're going to win the quad, guys. Just look it up as well. Obviously, yes. I mean, I think the Southampton game is going to be interesting because that's on Wednesday. It's going to be at Anfield. I imagine you'll see probably a very similar lineup with 5 or 6 changes. I think Kwanzaa will come in. I think Tsimikas may come in for Robertson. Gomez may get the start, or they might give Bradley another 60 minutes before the Forest game. Obviously, even if we don't win all 4, we can win 3. If we can't win 4, we've got 1. So if we can't win the FA Cup, the league, and the Europa League, we could definitely win the league and the Europa League if we just throw the FA Cup into the bin as well. But we could definitely go for a 4, and why not? Like, with these kids, put Dan's on against Southampton, he'll probably score a hat trick. I keep saying that because I hope it's going to happen. I'm going to will that into existence. But speaking into existence, we're going to have a youth player get a hat trick for the first time. But listen, with this team, with Jurgen, I mean, anything's possible. And that's kind of how it's been since day one, all the way back in 2015, coming out of the October 2015, with having the kind of come down from Brendan Rodgers after the previous season. We got smacked 6-1 from Stoke. Now it feels like anything's possible, like good and bad, like good and bad. And I think we just need to embrace that possibility and surrender ourselves to Jurgen's grace, because he'll get us over the line in the end, and these players will get us over the line as well.
And that's it, what Klopp brings to the guys kind of fills in with us as fans, right, Brendan, about the optimism. He gives us that chance, that fighter's chance. I think Gary Neville kind of called us a bantamweight in terms of obviously the kids that were playing today. But okay, right. The reason why I've mentioned Gary Neville a couple of times, he made that comment about the £1 billion bottle jobs. I think it's a bit naughty. The reason why I'm saying it is he's basically just very dismissive of Liverpool. Rather than giving us kudos, he's kind of put focus on Chelsea, saying that Chelsea should have battered us. Really, in all fairness, we bossed it. Okay, there was the expected goals. XG was very higher for Chelsea than for us, but actually, in terms of the peaks and troughs of the game and the flow, I thought we actually dominated the majority of the games. Prior to the Gravenberch injury, it was all Liverpool. They had the first 5 minutes, but after that, they were spooked.
Yeah, that's what I felt. I felt like it took us, I think, like 10 minutes, I think, after the injury to kind of get back into the flow of the game, get used to Bradley being farther up. It took us a few minutes to kind of get back into the game. But I agree with you. I thought we were the better team for most of the day. Chelsea just had big chances, and I know sometimes XG can be really skewed by some big chances. So I just felt, I think we were kind of the better team overall for most of the day, except for probably the last, I say, like 5 minutes after Grab's injury, and probably the last 5 minutes of regular time. Chelsea really seemed like they're taking advantage of our kind of dead legs. And then, extra time, you can't sit there and watch Chelsea's way better than us. I mean, obviously their tactics were wrong, but, we get tactics wrong all the time. And that's just the game. We got our tactics right, so we looked better, and that's why we were better. So,
yeah. I agree. I'm just absolutely phenomenal win. There's loads of wind, so I apologize if you're hearing some weird noise coming from my microphone. But we're gonna end up now. We'll give kind of last thoughts to the guys. The only reason why I'm saying that is because we do have another stream in about 45 minutes, which will go into a lot more detail. Dan, any last thoughts of the day?
I mean, I think the last thoughts we need to have is that we just need to back the lads and back Jurgen. I know it's very corny and cliche, but if there's anything Jurgen, we should just believe in Jurgen. Yes, you can have criticisms. Yes, you can moan. Yes, we can be what about this? What about this? What about this? Set aside all of those counterfactuals and possibilities to the side. We just need to embrace the entropy of the moment from now until May, because it's not going to be like this again. Even if we get Xabi Alonso or Nagelsmann or Amaran or whoever is the next manager, it's not going to feel the same, because we've gone on a journey, and it's been 9 years. Most of us at Liverpool as a experience has grown so much over those 9 years with Klopp. We've gone through so many roller coasters. I remember the Hoffenheim game when we went back in the Champions League. I mean, he says this is football when a Chan scores a brace. And if you think about the team we started with, there's very few players that are still with us for that ride. So we just need to embrace it and enjoy it, because it's just not going to be the same after this. I'm not saying it's going to be better or worse. I'm not saying it's going to be worse. It can be better, but it's just going to be different. So
it's a new chapter, isn't it?
It is a new chapter. It's a new chapter. It's a whole new book. It's a whole new time frame and mentality to be a Liverpool fan. So we just need to enjoy it all. The highs, the lows, and the in-between moments. And if we can do that, not just as not as an online fan base, but just in general, we will probably have, if not we will give Jurgen the send-off he deserves. And I think that's the most important thing, that he gets that send-off that he deserves. These players deserve as well, because they've given so much. They've given 9 years of their lives through COVID, through so many ups and downs, both local and global. We just all need to just come together and enjoy the moment as a as one big Liverpool family, and then we just move on. And then once we have that moment, we just welcome ourselves, open ourselves up to the next steps, the next chapter you mentioned, Charlie.
Yeah, and there's lots to play for this season. Brandon, it doesn't rest. There's no time to party. As just what Klopp has just said. We are straight into it. We're going into the next match. But kind of last thoughts before we close up on this particular stream for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, players have no time to party, but we can party. Always enjoy like the big moments like these, because like this is one of the more improbable ones. I said at the beginning of the stream, this is one that I think this is outside of maybe winning the league. This is one of the most impressive things Klopp's ever done, is winning this one. Like obviously winning the Champions League is more important, and a couple other things have been more important, but winning it with all the circumstances around this game is one of the most impressive things ever. Enjoy Klopp. You don't have to enjoy him the rest of the season. Enjoy him for the rest of your life, because he'll always be part of Liverpool. So like enjoy him for as much as you absolutely can. Like he's become just I'm not sure, he's just an icon. Like it's just he's really because I don't know if I ever said this to you guys, but when I came into the club, Roy Hodgson was the manager. That's when I became a fan. So like I came in at the darkest of dark times, and it's like those first couple of years watching us lose the Wolves at home was my first game I ever watched. So I started off pretty low. So to see where we're at now is it's just been such a magical journey, and Klopp's been such a key to that. And it's just enjoy everything you can while it lasts.
Yeah, I agree. What beautiful, beautiful last words there, Brandon. Let's close it up for now. We'll be back very shortly with the mainstream. I just want to say thank you for everyone joining me tonight. Dan, Brandon, love you guys. Everyone on the chat, love you all as well for joining us today. It's the first, hopefully, of 4. Let's see how far we can get. We'll be back very shortly with the mainstream, but then also we have our normal streams 7:30 all every day. So please just join us. Hit those likes, those subscribes. Just want to say thank you for everyone as well. Up the Reds, you'll never walk alone. Carabou Cup winners. Who would have thought it? Good night, everybody. Enjoy your evening, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.